Hi everybody, this is Kathy. Welcome back. Now, a lot of us has wondered why Patrick just stood by and let Eric try to destroy the Whitakers and stand by and watch him try to gain custody of Timmy, which was, I always call him the golden goose, but it's actually the goose that laid the golden eggs. And so they both knew from the very beginning that Timmy was a gold mine with these videos. And a lot of people think that, oh, Patrick was in it for the good reason and Eric was in it for the money and trying to adopt Timmy and stuff. But I'm going to show you some clips today that is going to put things a little more clear, since Patrick really wants my attention lately. I'm going to give him a little attention in this video. And actually, Patrick, guess what? I have good news and bad news for you. Which one do you want first? The good news? Okay. The good news is in this video, Patrick, I'm going to show people that you did not cower down to Eric. You were not submissive and afraid of Eric, okay? So I'm going to show everybody that, because that's what I think you kind of tried to tell everybody, is that you were intimidated by Eric, and that's why you stood by and let him destroy the family and try to take Timmy. I mean, that's a good story. It is very believable. We can believe that I believe that, yeah, you would cower down to Eric. That's 100% believable. And so, yeah, a lot of people thought that, yeah, well, Patrick stood by and let Eric do all this adoption stuff because he was scared of Eric. And yeah, that was very believable. But the bad news for Patrick is that I'm going to show that the reason Patrick didn't cower down or whatever he said he did, the reason why Patrick stood by and co-signed this is because he himself was supposed to have guardianship of Timmy with those adoption papers. Isn't that right, Patrick? All right, so let's go back. Okay, so we're going all the way back to the very first video that Patrick and Eric did together when they very first met. And this was the last few days of June 2025. And this is the first sit-down interview, and this is the first time we really met Eric Carroll and got to really know Patrick. You know what I mean? This was it was literally called Meet Patrick and Eric or something like that. And it was to kind of for everybody to get to know them. So this is the first video, the first few days that they met. And right out of the gate, Patrick wants to be Timmy's father, right? And we're just going to listen to that real quick. Oh, and so let me just tell you what happens right before he says this. Eric asked Patrick, so do you have any kids? What about your kids? And Patrick says, oh man, you had to ask me about that. He goes, why, what? And he goes, he kind of didn't want to talk about it. And then Patrick goes on to talk about somebody else's kid that he helped raise. Eric will admit that at that point that they both have kids that they didn't really see. And anyway, so this is when it starts. And so Patrick starts out saying it's kind of a father thing. You know what I mean? It's kind of like, okay, they're talking about Timmy. Now he's trying to be a father to Timmy, even though they both just admitted they have kids they didn't spend time with. But go ahead.
I need to see that small, like a child. And I seen that child in Tim. And I'm just like, this is it.
We don't need to go into specifics, but I think both of us can say this. We have children that we maybe get to have that every day, teaching them and spending time with them and just getting that bond. And it was like, that's the role you started playing in his life. Because he never had a male role model.
Yeah, that's part of my life.
Timmy doesn't even know who his dad is.
Well, I may not be his dad, but I'll take a place.
Yeah.
Yep, absolutely.
Okay, so a couple things Eric says. Timmy doesn't know his dad is, and he never had a role model. Although I have many clips of Larry and Kenny and other males at the Whitakers that are being very kind to Timmy. And so to say he's had never had a role model, that's kind of ridiculous, because there's a lot of male family members that have been around Timmy. And so, no, they didn't need these two to Timmy didn't need these guys to be his role model. It's the last thing Timmy or anybody needs, for that matter. Nobody asked Timmy if he needs a dad, because, but wait, Mark did from Soft White Underbelly. He said, "Who's your mom? Who's your dad?"
Who's your mom? Where's your mom? Where's your mom at?
Who's your mom, Timmy? Who's your mom?
Where's your mom at?
Yeah. Here's the big question, Timmy.
Who'd you
So, hold on. Let me ask the question of the 2 decades here. Timmy, who's your dad? Who's your dad?
Joe.
Okay, and that's where the Joe Bolin thing comes up. But who did Timmy point to his dad? Lorraine. So, no, he doesn't need Patrick or Eric to be his daddy. So all the times that Patrick and Eric say, I'm going to be your daddy, imagine how confusing that is for Timmy, because he considers Lorraine his mom and his dad. So, yeah, Timmy didn't ask anybody to be his dad. He's already got a mom and a dad, according to him. And that's all that matters. So now, from this very first video where they first came out, Eric's thinking, yeah, I want to be the dad too, because they just both admitted, this is the end of June, that this, what they call this thing, has really blown up. It's blown up so much they can't even keep up with comments. They're overwhelmed with emails. Everything is just blowed up. And of course, there's big bucks to be made. And so they both, from the very get-go, put their eyes on Timmy to be his daddy that he doesn't need or ask for. Now, a few months ago, I made all these videos, and I told people back then that even though these are individual videos, they're actually little chapters that I'm going to put together later. And you can see this happening right here, is that they set out their sights to adopt Timmy from the beginning, right? They both wanted to be their daddy or whatever. And of course, Eric, with his Alienation Academy and all his bright ideas how to take custody of people, I think it was his plan to come up with the August 24th. Everything changed overnight. The first time we heard of any type of abuse or anything going on like that. And this was August 24th. This is at the end of the summer. This is when all the adult protection and claims of BJ being horrible and abusive and all this, and emergency trip back because Eric and Patrick said that they just evicted BJ. Remember that? Eric and Patrick's 30-day eviction notice. So Eric and Patrick, like I said from the get-go, they had to work together on this. They both had to lie because this wasn't real. Neither one of them had the authority to evict anybody. And I don't think Betty even has authority because the land's in the family's name. And, she's not even living in the house. She's living in a camper on the property. So none of it made sense. But Patrick co-signed it. In fact, him and Eric had to work behind the scenes on this. Now remember how Eric had to rush back as an emergency? Patrick broke his leg and he's got to get down there and take care of the Whitakers because, he can't just call the police or tell them to call the police or something. He's got to go from Georgia back to West Virginia. And him and Patrick have evicted BJ. BJ's been arrested and all this nonsense. And who sat there and co-signed it? It was Patrick. Patrick sat there and co-signed this fake eviction notice for BJ. Why, Patrick? It's because you were in on the plan. That's why. That's why you sat there and co-signed this. Oh yeah, we have a eviction notice. Yep. What did Patrick say? Yep. I just talked to the sheriff, and he's yep. She's getting evicted today or whatever. Like what? This makes no sense. And I called it BS months ago. And guess what? Now today, Patrick gets asked, "Hey, was that eviction notice even real?" Patrick says no. So, Patrick, then why did you do the eviction notice? I know why. Because remember, him and Eric both tried to get rid of BJ by turning in that copper. Remember the text back and forth with Eric and Patrick? Now, after, now some of the truth is coming to light after after the breakup, after they parted ways, and I'll get into that in a minute. So all the way in August, you can see that they're still working together. They turned BJ into the copper. She did get arrested, but she got back out, and they were both very angry. Remember that? Yeah, I remember that, and Patrick went along with all of this. So once BJ got out of jail and back home again, they thought, all right, we got to get rid of her another way. We're going to tell everybody that she's very dangerous. She's keeping the phone from Betty and Larry, and they may have a heart attack and need the phone and all this nonsense. So he rushes back, and Patrick's got a broken leg, and Eric's going to be the superhero and all this nonsense because, Whitakers are in danger. So we have to have a fake eviction notice. Right. So then obviously I got to thinking, I'm thinking, wait a minute. So if Eric and Patrick made this whole eviction notice thing up and that's fake, then that ring cam has to be fake too. Yeah. Remember that video I put out? Breaking news. The biggest ring cam hoax heard around the world. And guess what? This was him and Patrick's design. Yeah, isn't that right? Oh, Patrick says, yeah, a state trooper just told me that he's out looking for her. And Eric's like, yeah, I got to rush back. I got to go to West Virginia. I got to file restraining orders. And Patrick's like, yeah, you should come back. Yeah, I will. Okay. So after everything is normal and fine and just wonderful all summer from, Patrick claims he started in May. So they went May, June, July. Now it's August, and all of a sudden on August 24th, everything is normal. But August 25th, everything changes overnight, and Eric and Patrick are working together to get rid of BJ. Because I'm going to tell you, I know that, I've thought for the longest time that they're getting rid of BJ because she's the one who's sticking up for the family. She's the one who notices they're not getting paid after months. She's the one, maybe who is a little bit wiser to all this. But I'll tell you why else they're getting rid of BJ, and it just kind of dawned on me recently. They have to get rid of BJ for not only is she calling them out and, trying to hold them accountable, but think about it. If Timmy gets taken from the home, there's no reason why he can't go with BJ. If the home is found incompetent or whatever, BJ can always go somewhere else and rent someplace and have custody of Timmy. There's no reason why she can't. She's family. They've lived together for many, many years. And if people say, well, what about a criminal record? That doesn't stop any family members from living with each other. And remember, Patrick's criminal record is much longer than BJ's. So, yeah, you can't say that. So there's no reason why BJ wouldn't have been taking custody of Timmy. So they got to get her out of the way. And the reason it dawned on me, because I watched an old interview with the first interview where Eric did with the Whitakers, and the Whitakers were sitting on the couch, and they were at Patrick's house. And boy, and remember I said boy, is he ever fishing. I mean, he's farming for information. He was asking everything, their height, their weight, their hair color, and natural hair color, like everything, like their birthdays and their family members. I'm thinking, I even mentioned, like I said, I mentioned that, oh, he's really farming for information on these guys. But he asked about all the family members. Okay, what about your sister Connie? What, is she in the picture? Is this person in the picture? Okay, are they still alive? Where do they live? So, it dawned on me when I was watching that he's trying to weed out who his competition is. And it appears like, probably the only one that was going to, if Betty and Larry are found incompetent or whatever, or the house or whatever reason, BJ could always, her and Nelson could always get Timmy. I mean, that would be the most logical thing, is that she would have control of Timmy. And I think that's probably the main reason they wanted her out of the way, because she's standing in the way of this Patrick and Eric adopting Timmy. Remember, this was the end of August. This was August 25th, overnight, out of the blue. But one thing I did know is that, wait a minute, once I figured this out, I'm thinking, wait a minute. Okay, so that means that before this video here, before he got in the truck and started rushing back, and Patrick's sitting there, and Patrick goes along with it. He's right in the whole in the whole fraud here. And Patrick goes as far as saying that, the BJ was served with the eviction notice at 7 o'clock this morning. The sheriff had to wait for her to come home. And when she got home, she got served. Then Patrick, all that boast. And then Patrick even said that the sheriff just got a hold of him, and the sheriff now, since BJ drove by in the ring cam and all that, the sheriff is out looking for her right now. There's a manhunt for BJ Whitaker to find her and get her arrested and all this stuff. That's what he was saying during this live stream. And then what did that do? Because this is news to everybody. All summer and up till just today, everything was fine. You're giving haircuts and having barbecues, and everything was like super duper. And now today is everybody's like, whoa, what happened? BJ did what? And so this is the day, August 25th is when they started the panic. Oh my goodness, the Whitakers aren't safe. We got to get out. Panic. Big emergency. You guys, she's got evicted, but she won't leave. The sheriff's out looking for her right now. There's a manhunt. She's doing this, she's doing that. And so this is the day they gaslit everybody into full-blown fear for the Whitakers. Oh my goodness, all this has happened. We didn't know. And this is also the first day that they pulled Dwayne in, because he's got to control the narrative in the chat. Anybody who's asking any of the good questions, the serious questions, the legit questions, they're out. He is reeling in those donations. And it's so funny, you can see on the text here, he said, I'm going to be Vanna White. They say, yeah, this is my friend Dwayne. Yeah, he's going to control the chat and all that. And Dwayne does a little lady wave, like he's in a parade. And he goes, I'm going to be Vanna White. Like, what? Anyway, but the point is, this is where everything changed overnight. They've hauled in their friend here, Dwayne, to control the narrative and be part of the act of this charade. And Patrick's in it full blown. He's in it to win it along with Eric, because they're going to be daddies. And that's why Patrick worked behind the scene to get this clip to corroborate him and Eric's story about, oh, look at, there goes BJ and just scared the hell out of Timmy. And you know what? So these two were very conniving behind the scenes, fabricating this big emergency and the danger for the Whitakers. Timmy's in danger. Oh my goodness. Get rid of BJ. Right, the competition. And now after they lit the fire at everybody and scared the blazes out of everybody, and I have a clip where Eric said that Adult Protection got 60 phone calls from the public, from people watching these videos. So Patrick was very much 50-50 in this with Eric, because they were going to be the daddy. All right, now let's listen to this. Remember, they're talking about being co-parenting and all this. And look, this is right at the end. This is like the end of August. Like I said, just a few days later. Yeah, so this is Labor Day weekend. Remember, he's in the and there, and sure, he's playing along. They're about to get the goose that lays the golden egg. Now, little does Patrick know. Patrick, I'm going to tip you off on something. You see, Eric, I do believe, was planning on double-crossing you the whole entire time. And that's why, very early on, he came into the picture and took control. Because you were very easily manipulated. Maybe not as clever, I would say, as Eric. And so I think Eric's plan, in my opinion, was to take control the whole time. The first thing he did, he took control of the YouTube channel and the platforms. Anything that was funneling money in went into Eric's full control. And in fact, it was one of these days here that, I'll tell you exactly when it was. It was on the 28th, and I'm not sure what date this is, but it's right around then. And Eric said, hey, why don't you post that video? And Patrick said something that he got a good video, and Eric says, yeah, why don't you post it? And Patrick says, I can't. I don't have any control anymore. So Eric's been in full control of the money now. For as soon as he could do it, he did. And so I think his plan was to get full control of the money. Check, he did that. Act like him and Patrick are going to get co-parenting of Timmy. Check, which he did. And then at the last minute, after he's using Patrick as a useful idiot and using Patrick to form this charade, this illusion, like, Timmy needs to be removed from the home and be as abusive and all this ring cam bullshit. And so once he's used Patrick, the useful idiot, he will at the last minute dump Patrick, because was supposed to be headed back to Georgia on September 6th. And Patrick was going to be aced out at that point, in my opinion. I think that was Eric's plan all along. And you know what? It's funny, because I was watching a clip the other day, and I noticed the exact moment where Patrick knew he was double-crossed. And I'll tell you when it was. It was on Friday, September 5th, the day that Eric called off the whole thing, because they said he can't take Timmy back to Georgia. So he imploded the whole thing, blew up the deal like the bridge on the River Kwai, you know what I mean? And then that Friday, he was doing a live stream. Well, yeah, he was doing a live stream, and there was a time where Patrick came in the chat and he said, this is all BJ's fault. And that moment, Eric said, yeah, that's when he turned on Patrick. That live stream, you can see him turn and say, yeah. And then all of a sudden he pulls up Patrick's criminal record and he says something like, I don't want nothing to do with Patrick anymore. Something. And the chat's like, whoa, now you guys aren't. Not only is there no house and you're done with the Whitakers, you're done with Patrick too. Yep, that was all on Friday, that live stream. And that's where Patrick found out that he just got used as the useful idiot. You know what I mean? And that, yeah, he got duped. And also, he kind of knew it that same week, just a few days earlier, on the 4th, when Eric was supposed to be at the restraining order place. He was out with his Amish friends, and that was just a few days when his Amish friends came in on Wednesday. Patrick felt he was being aced out, and he's admitted that. When his Amish friends, or ex-Amish friends, whoever the hell they were, all them men came in to visit, and they were going to go see the Amish. Patrick said all of a sudden he was kind of left out in the cold. Yeah, he got a condo next door, but he never got invited to meet these people. And that's from Patrick. That was on that Wednesday. And that's, 2 days later, everything falls through and Patrick is kicked to the curb. So that's when Patrick started noticing, just 2 days before the fallout, when his friends came into town and wanted nothing to do with Patrick. And he's even admitted it. He started feeling weird. Well, that was only 2 days before the whole thing blew up. So right up to the very end, Patrick thought he was going to get the custody, co-parenting with Eric. So go ahead, you guys. Sorry I was talking so much. You go ahead and tell him.
Road 99, I think Eric and Patrick are planning to take care of Timmy no matter what. You guys are absolute saints.
Absolute saints. How they're taking control of Timmy away from his family. That's just
I think Eric and Patrick are planning to take care of
Saint Patrick and Saint Eric.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
He agrees. I am a saint.
The biggest thing that worries me, like when this stuff is falling apart, like it was today, is just like.
Okay, we're gonna get into this. Okay, this is the one of the days that they went for the restraining order, and I'm gonna show you something I never noticed after we do this one. So go ahead.
The biggest thing that worries me, like when this stuff is falling apart, like it was today, is just like I can't imagine not having him in my life now.
Wow.
Right. I love.
He's known him, I don't know, a couple weeks maybe. Saw him here and there over the summer, but yeah, all of a sudden he's ready to cry because he has to have Timmy in his life. Can you imagine that? A YouTuber, we all know YouTubers. Imagine a YouTuber going over to your house, spend a few days with your family member, and all of a sudden they're crying and they have to be in your life. They have to be in my life. I'd call the cops, man. Go ahead. What are you saying?
Not having him in my life now. Right. I love this kid, man. And I know you do too, Patrick. And people need to understand, me and him are doing this together. This ain't a competition.
Not yet.
When I go somewhere, like Patrick, we tag each other. You're dad today, I'm dad tomorrow.
Handing off babies, boys. Handing off babies.
Two dads.
That kid cannot get enough love. He needs all the love in the world, and he's so.
And they act like Timmy's never been loved. I've mentioned this many times. You got to say one thing about the Whitakers. That is a family full of love. They're all smiling. They're all happy. They love each other. They're in cramped quarters sometimes, and they just, you can't. How can they sit there and say Timmy never had love? But that's the story that they want to push. So you think, yeah, you guys are going to be the first ones that love Timmy. Yay. And you'll be their daddies.
Get enough love. He needs all the love in the world.
Not from you guys.
Up like a sponge. The more love we can give Timmy, the better.
We need to make a t-shirt that says 2 dads and a Timmy.
I love it.
Oh, yeah. Get the business going there.
Yeah, make money off of that too.
Now you're his dad, but they're doing it in like a derogatory.
Right.
Oh, now you're his dad. See, people are catching on. They were saying, quit trying to be his dad. You're a YouTuber. You guys barely even know him. Not even Eric. I mean, not even Patrick. Because, yeah, he said he saw him in Head Start when they were 4 years old or whatever. And then he moved away and he didn't see him since. Now he moved back and kind of met him again. So neither one of them even know Timmy. Now they want to take him from the family. Yeah, people are disgusted. You think that you're Timmy's dads?
Now you're his dad, but they're doing it in like a derogatory.
Right. Yeah, I know.
I told one day, I was like, I'd be proud of you, Timmy's dad.
Absolutely.
You think you're being slick or you're being funny? No, man. If he wanted to call me daddy, I'll take it with pride.
Daddy.
He needed it.
Absolutely.
It doesn't sound like he had the greatest one.
Don't you think I'm ever going to call you daddy, though, bud? I'll tell you that right now.
That's what you think.
Yeah, I think there might have been a little spark there between those two.
Very nice, heartwarming comment about this. This is who dads are. Dads
but it's good when two stepdaddies can get along. Go ahead. Now later they're gonna fight. They're gonna have a fallout. But right now there's kind of they still think it's gonna happen. They're gonna get Timmy and co-parent. Go ahead.
This is why I fight for dads, man. So many kids in this country. I think it's
yeah, sure. And you charge $25 a piece for each person that you talk to. Yeah, we heard. Now this is interesting because it starts to take a little bit of turn as Patrick is getting aced out of the picture. This is the very end of August, beginning of September, Labor Day area. And yeah, Eric seems to have gotten the adult protection people to give him the adoption papers. But he's going to make sure that Patrick's on the, on the birth certificate or whatever.
They brought me the paperwork and was actually presented to me that asked me if I would take guardianship. And I told them I would as long as I could do co with Patrick. But they're also needing someone. There's no guardian.
Okay, so now when the adult protection insisted that Eric get the guardianship daddy papers, he said, but we got to make sure Patrick's in on the deal because he's not quite ready to publicly dump Patrick out of the picture. But Patrick thinks he's going to be the daddy too. And he's probably happy that Eric is gonna keep him on in the adult protection guardianship papers. So he's thinking, good, I'm glad I'm still in on the, in on this deal. Because remember, at this point, Patrick's feeling a little bit aced out. But hey, Eric just said he's still adult protection wants Eric to be the daddy guardianship, but he just assured Patrick, don't worry, Patrick, you're still going to be, on the papers. And Eric reassures everybody that, don't worry, Patrick loves Timmy just as much as I do. We're both...
I know Mr. Patrick right there, Bama, as Timmy calls him, loves that kid just as much as I do. We're not going to...
Yep. So they both love Timmy equally as much. They're both going to be on the guardianship. Huh, Patrick, wink, wink. Now remember that secretly recorded phone call between Eric and adult protection? Yeah. I played it the other day. Now, we're going to listen to... Because I played it because Eric seems to have his, close connections in adult protection. But I'm going to play the beginning part, which I did not play before. And then he was first talking to somebody on the telephone. And we can't hear who he's talking to. And people thought it was his wife, but it's not his wife. So he's telling that he's going to have adult protection coming. Adult protection is going to come down to the Whitakers. He's going to calm down. He's got the adoption papers. He's got, custody papers for Timmy. And it sounds like he's trying to get help from his mom. But notice, this is just days before everything blew up and they took the family. Just days before, right up to the very end, Eric was planning on getting the adoption papers for both of them. So still, at the very end, trying to get the, custody papers for him and Patrick to co-parent. Go ahead. Listen here.
Maybe have paperwork. Maybe have paperwork. Almost completely. Like the signatures or something like that. I don't know. I'd like for you guys to have it just in case I can say yes. But I'm leaning more towards maybe like co-guardianship with Patrick. I would take over guardianship of the family.
Did you see that? Now, I don't know if he's called to adult protection, if he's talking to his mom, who's in the ins and out of this stuff. Like I said, I had all close close connections and all this stuff. So, but he said, I want to take guardianship of the family, not just Timmy.
Possible to maybe have paperwork on the signatures or something like that. I don't know. I'd like for you guys to have it just in case I can say yes. Leaning more towards maybe like co-guardianship with Patrick. I would take over guardianship of the family. Health, well-being and all that. I would be fine with it. If it was rare. You could be with me for a month and Patrick. Or, you know what I mean.
Okay, so he wants Patrick to have him for a month and Eric to have him for a month. He doesn't want this full time. Too much work.
I think it might could work.
Yeah.
Only. Hey, sorry for doing this. I'm at Patrick's house and my phone don't work out here, so I need to FaceTime. Betty's not here because somebody came and convinced her this morning.
And that's, by the way, why he doesn't have to introduce who Patrick is to this adult protection, because they've both been trying to get their co-parenting, co-custody of Timmy. Okay, so he doesn't have to say, well, this Patrick, I'm up at... No, they already know who Patrick is, because they're both trying to get shared custody of Timmy.
Betty's not here because somebody came and convinced her this morning that I'm on the internet trying to get the family taken away from her. Is there any way?
And he just admitted that he's trying to get guardianship of the family. He just admitted that in the phone call we just heard him say. But anyway, so yeah.
Taken away from her. Is there any way? I know you guys have talked about coming here at one point. Is there any way that you could come here and let her know in person that that's bullshit? I would really appreciate. I'm like literally.
It's Larry.
Larry's trying to convince her because I got me to come.
Okay, so he says, he's having trouble with Larry. It's just, of course, but somehow Eric is the one that's livid. No, the Whitakers should be livid with you, Eric. So see, at the end, they're still trying to get co-parenting. So remember how annoyed Patrick was, and everybody thought, well, he's annoyed at Eric because Eric's trying to get all this custody of Timmy. No, he's annoyed because Larry and Betty and BJ are standing in their way. That's why he's annoyed. And you know what I caught? Remember earlier in this video, I told you that I caught something just today. And it is this video here. As I was getting ready, you will see that not only they both into it, into this scheme of getting custody of not just Timmy, but you heard Eric wanted guardianship of all three of them, their health, their well-being, and all whatever else he said. But he would co-parent with these two. And remember, he already calculated the cost. Each one is going to cost $100,000 a year or whatever it was to take care of him or whatever. He did the math of what guardianship would bring in for Eric. So he still wants guardianship of all of them, but he's willing to share guardianship with Patrick. And that's what we heard up until this. Now, everybody thinks that Patrick wasn't involved in the adult protection stuff, but he was. In fact, he even went, he was even there with the adult protection people trying to make this happen. So watch this.
Through some of the things in here, thank you, Jennifer. Thank you for the donation. How was Larry's demeanor today with you and the state people? So.
Okay, now how would Patrick know how Larry's demeanor was? Now remember, I just went over the video where Eric is very angry and tells the adult protection to come down right away because we need you to tell the Whitakers that this is bullshit, even though that's probably why they were confused. But yeah, he has, because Betty didn't show up for to sign the papers, adult protection. But the next day, Larry did, but Larry didn't say what they wanted. And remember, Patrick blackmailed Larry to be there with that gasoline. Remember, now does this all make sense? Doesn't make sense why Patrick was blackmailing Larry with a can of gas. Said he's going to call the police and tell the police you stole this gas and you're going to go to jail if you don't go for the restraining order. Why? Didn't you wonder why was Patrick pushing so hard for this restraining order? Well, now you know why. And now you know why he's pushing so hard for the guardianship. That's why he blackmailed. That's why he was all that stuff. Remember all them videos he did trying to bolster the claims that BJ was, he did the hidden camera video with Larry trying to convince him that his family's been, horribly abused and on his watch and shaming him. And then he did another hidden camera video with Betty trying to say that Timmy doesn't even want to go home, even though she understands his language and Patrick doesn't. But yeah, he's trying to convince them. Remember all those videos? Yeah, now starting to make sense. That's why Patrick has pushed this guardianship, because he's in on it. He's going to get a piece of the pie, he thought. Still, to this day, talking about getting guardianship. Patrick just said a week ago he's going to lawyer up and still get guardianship of Timmy. Why? He did it at the beginning, he did it at the middle, and he did it at the end, and now he's still doing it. He is still trying to get guardianship of Timmy. So for anybody that ever thought he wasn't interested in that, now, I'm thinking twice, because you should. Now it's all making sense. That's why he blackmailed Larry and put him and made all that evidence for the adult protection to corroborate with Eric's story that they're all being horribly abused. Right? And so now, when Dwayne asked both of these guys, how was Larry's demeanor today? With you and the state people. Now, I don't know really why he uses the word lucid, but maybe he doesn't know what the word means. But anyway, so Patrick jumps right in and tells how Larry was with the state people. How do you know that? Unless he was there. That's right. Patrick wants this to happen just as much as Eric. Okay, he asks, how is it today?
Matthew Dunn, thank you for the donation. How was Larry's demeanor today with you and the state people? So,
it's just so disappointing, guys. If you lucid.
I'm not sure if you know what the word lucid means, but that's very clear thinking and clear speaking and everything, Patrick. I'm not really sure if that's the word that you were really looking for, but anyway, but obviously Patrick was there, wasn't he? With the state, with the custody people. Uh-huh.
It's just so disappointing, guys. If you lucid. If you go back to all of the
Eric knows doesn't know what he's talking about.
Before this week, I always took up for Larry.
Always stuck up for Larry up until this week, because this week he wouldn't sign the papers and he wouldn't go along with the plan to get custody of Larry's entire family there. So
yeah.
Because I said,
now he's very disappointed because he wanted them to just roll over and take Timmy.
That's who Betty depends on for a ride. He helps with Ray, helps with a lot. And then after this week, and then with that with BJ, I started feeling a little bit different.
Because Larry didn't ace BJ out of the picture. BJ is the obstacle. Remember, I showed you just recently that video within the last few days. I played that clip where Eric said that there were obstacles standing in their way. An obstacle. And that was BJ. And if they can get... And now Larry, they went through the restraining order. They went through all this, hell and high water to get rid of BJ. And when they find out that first Larry bailed BJ out of jail, their first attempt to get rid of her, they didn't like Larry. And then they weren't answering the phone and talking to these guys because they're starting to catch on, and plus they're not getting paid. So then Eric feels he's losing control and comes back with this big old emergency, and Patrick's all in on it. And that's why Patrick looks very annoyed, because Larry didn't roll over and let him take the family, and that's why Patrick went with all them extreme lengths, because he thought he was going to get custody.
Awesome. I won't lie to you. I thought he was.
Oh, and then he says when Larry didn't do what he wanted at court, Eric went off on him later.
And then after this week, and then with that with BJ, I started feeling a little bit different. I went off on him. I won't lie to you. I thought he was helping a little bit more there. Anyway, I don't want to get into it, dude, because, I hope you don't think that I just don't know where it's going.
Yeah, it's not really going perfectly their way, but that's why Patrick is sitting there saying Larry didn't do good at court today. Yeah, he knows because he was there, obviously. Lucid. Now, this is the day that Whitaker said, no, you're not getting Timmy, and you're not bringing him back to Georgia with you. This is that Friday the 5th when he called off the deal. So the deal's over. BJ's in the camper because they said, no, you're not taking Timmy. And he was furious. And this was just within an hour probably after that happened. So he's still hot, pissed off, madder than a wet hen. Go ahead, Eric. Oh, and he's going to play the victim too, like always. It's okay, Eric. Pull yourself together.
I have not taken a break the whole time I've been here.
Just working.
Sorry, guys. My signal is messing up.
He's so upset. Didn't get his way.
Just gotta be the shittiest feeling on the face of this earth.
When he doesn't get his way.
I would have went to the end of the world for them.
Well, for one of them.
Guys, I watched my dad go through this my whole life. There's a reason these people need help, and that's not easy. For anybody that thought this was a joyride, you have no idea.
Eric, you need to breathe. You're turning purple. Take a deep breath.
All right.
You're going to pass out.
I gotta make some calls.
And mind you, he just said in the vehicle, 10 minutes before that it was 6:30 and it was on a Friday. So it's got to be about 7 o'clock at night on a Friday, and he's going to make some calls to get Timmy taken away. On a Friday night.
I gotta make some calls.
Oh, that's right. Those are his friends at APS. He's got their personal numbers.
Timmy doesn't need to be there.
You hear that? Timmy doesn't need to be there because he didn't get his way.
Timmy doesn't need to be there. Now, what I was accused of earlier this week.
Trying to take Timmy.
Saying that I was trying to get the state to come pick him up.
Yep.
Which I never did.
Always
But
did.
now I'm saying Timmy does not need to be there around BJ.
Yep. Can make some phone calls. Yep. Right.
This sucks.
This sucks. This was Friday evening, and guess what? Monday morning, they were all taken away by adult protection, never to be seen again as of today, so months later. So obviously his little phone calls worked because, yeah, they came in ambulances and gurneys and just strapped everybody down and hauled them away. Because Eric's little phone calls here on Friday night because he didn't get his way and he didn't get Timmy. I want Timmy. And if Eric can't have Timmy, nobody can have Timmy. And that evening, he kicked Patrick to the curb publicly, told everybody that Patrick's just a scammer. He just found out he's got a lengthy criminal record, and he doesn't want Patrick in the chat and all this. And Patrick found out when we did that, guess what, Patrick? You just got kicked to the curb and completely turned on because Eric's done with you and he's going to go his own route. He's going to try to get them all hauled away. And he thinks hopefully he will get Timmy by himself, but that didn't happen either. Ain't that right? And this is the day that he turned on Patrick. And he also told everybody that, you know, at first I wanted to co-parent with Patrick, but now I don't want him nowhere around Timmy. And remember what else happened this night? Patrick got kicked out of the Airbnb. Yeah. Eric said, scram, Patrick, you're gone. Get out of the condo. And then the next day, he told everybody the story how Patrick trashed the condo. It might have even been this day. But he throws Patrick out of the condo, tells everybody that there's dog poop everywhere and spit, and he was using all the decorations for spittoons and all that stuff. He just came full blast at Patrick. Eric came full throttle after Patrick about his criminal stuff and how horrible he is and how bad his house is and how he trashed the condo and all this other stuff. He just went all in on how horrible Patrick is. And people in the chat were even like, wait a minute, so the deal's off because this morning everything was wonderful. The Amish agreed to build the cabin and you and Patrick were buddies and you're going to co-parent. Now today, later in the day, the deal's off. You don't want anything to do with Whitakers. You're going home. There's not going to be a house. Patrick is bad. Patrick spit snuff all over the condo. The dog ruined it. He ruined it. Diapers everywhere. Pills all over the floor. Remember that? He went all out on Patrick. Why? Because he didn't need Patrick anymore. And this is what he's thought about Patrick the whole time, but he needed the useful idiot to pull off his little plan here. So anyway, I think that's about it. I could go on and on and on, and I got clips that'll bring us into, next year. But I can't play them all in one video. So maybe I'll put some of those out a little bits at a time that can show this. So I hope this has been helpful. I hope it cleared things up and showed you that, no, Patrick wasn't just cowering down. The alpha male didn't cower down to Eric. He was in on it the whole time. And no, when Patrick looked aggravated, it wasn't at Eric, it was at the Whitakers. So yeah, if you think he loves Timmy and he loves the Whitakers, think again. They both just saw them as a paycheck. Anyway, thanks for listening and peace.